Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and always a pleasure every Tuesday evening. We'll be coming to your home and we talk sports. I hope you all had a beautiful weekend. I did enjoy my weekend for the first time in quite a little while. I really had an enjoyable weekend, and I really hope that all you, the viewers, did the same. We have just concluded the 2022 Carifta games. We came away with 2 gold, a couple silver, and some bronze. And on tonight's program, we want to talk a bit about, do a recap on the performance of the athletes. We all know that due to COVID, there was limited events and preparation. But I think, this is my own view, I think that they did well, taking all things into consideration. Who better to really dissect this whole, games and to talk about the performance of the athletes? I have with me Dennis Allen, the CEO of Rep 868. Dennis, it's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Welcome again, buddy.
The visa, got renewed, so I was allowed to come down south.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to come on the show, bro.
That is nice. And a big shout out to Chris, wherever you are. You know what going on. You know what going on.
The red man.
The red man. You know what going on, Chris. Right. Anyway, where do we start? Was this performance what you expected due to the fact that there weren't many competitions being held for over 2 years? But what I saw some young athletes who I think did impress.
Indeed.
Right? And to me, the names were strange. Right? So these guys had to be guys who have recently been in track and field, because I've covered and went to a lot of track and field. And one name in particular, we mentioned the name, I don't even want to pronounce it.
Swiskandaraja.
Right, I never
Kieran Swiskandaraja.
Right, I never heard that guy before.
Well, that is understandable.
Right?
He's a UK-based expat, son of an expat.
Okay.
So Kieran is a young middle distance runner, and he won gold in the boys under 17 1500 meter, and he also ran, was it silver or bronze in the I think, in the 800 meter. I follow him on Instagram. He's a young guy, but the first time I heard about him was when we spoke about the expat non-resident athletes on the selection committee level.
Yeah, yeah.
As the audience may be aware, I think I mentioned it on the show that I am a part of the Publication and Education Committee, as well as the Selection Committee on the entries.
Okay.
So sometimes I would be able to speak directly to issues that would have been public consumption, parts of the conversation that would be for public consumption. Some of the athletes we didn't know about until we found out about them there. Especially on the younger side, So under 17 boys, you're talking about somebody who would have been out there. They may have been considered to represent another country. We don't have that detail in terms of where Kieran came from. Why did he decide to rep 868 all day, every day, instead of the UK? But certainly we are very open as to our international brothers and sisters and the children and grandchildren of all the athletes who are available to represent Trinidad and Tobago. So when he came out, first of all, he has a difficult name to pronounce. I admire the Jamaicans for pronouncing that, because they have a very small Indo-Jamaican community, so they are not accustomed to those types of names, but they did a remarkable job of pronouncing it correctly. Yeah. And I hope I am also doing it justice, Mr. Kieran Swiskandaraja, but certainly he's a talent. He came very close to a double, and certainly he's one to watch in the future. The other athlete that won a gold medal excuse me, is Aaron Antwine in the boys under 20 high jump.
Yes.
And he set a new Trinidad and Tobago under 20 boys high jump record, as well as a new personal record in 2 meters 16 centimeters. It was a nail biter. It was like if you watch the tapes are on the Sportsmax YouTube channel. They've clipped off the highlights, and it was just a nail biter. It was like a mano-a-mano battle.
Is this the first medal we ever...
Yeah. In the high jump?
In high jump?
I'm not sure, but it might be the first goal.
Yeah.
It might be first goal. But certainly, Aaron is 6'9" or 6'10". He's a basketball player, but he's also been a long jumper and high jumper, and he also has a very deadly sprint in the 100.
Okay.
So he's been out there. I have several photos of him going back as early as, I believe, 2017 or 18. His brother is on scholarship, Jaden Antoine. His brother is a scholarship athlete at Minnesota University. So he's not an athlete unknown to us in the track and field fraternity, but certainly he made an announcement to the public in a big way, but that massive leap, right? In the final round, the Jamaican athlete had the first taste of the pie, and he missed his jump, and Aaron missed his 2 jumps. So each height, you have 3 jumps. So he composed himself, he stood up and he focused, and he nailed it on his 3rd jump. And I mean, I was screaming. A lot of these youngsters are friends of mine. I speak to them almost daily. And certainly Aaron and Jaden are friends of mine. I mean, when he did his PB in Carifta trials, it was the first time over 210, 2 meters 10 in the high jump. And he's one of the few athletes, not just youth athletes, one of the few athletes in the world who has a 7-meter long jump, a 2-meter high jump, and who could probably dunk it from the free throw line. So I believe right now, or if not right now, I think on the 28th, he's supposed to go to NBA development camp.
Okay.
I think it's in Brazil. So he is an athlete of very high potential. Unfortunately, I think we will lose him to track and field because NBA pays more money.
Yes, that's true.
If I was his dad, I would have been, what?
Yeah.
You want to what?
Yeah. I was just
Go and play basketball.
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, but he's very passionate about the sport. You don't get that kind of credentials because I think he's also into the 10s in his 100 meter, if not the low 11s. So he's a legitimate athlete, all around top performances. But one of the things that I can say is that we had some close calls with that silvers that could have been gold. One of the athletes that stood out to me is Kanika Kasa in the girls under 17 javelin. She threw the existing Carifta Games record 3 occasions in Trinidad competition. When she got to Jamaica, things were just not nailing it, but she led after the first round, and her best throw was good enough for silver, that good enough for me. Kanika is one of those athletes that is also a 2-sport athlete. She's on the under 19 Trinidad and Tobago cricket, and I also believe the West Indies under 19 selectors have their eye on her. She's I think she bowls at around 70 miles per hour.
Okay.
I'm not a cricket guy, but I know 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, that is fast. It's fast.
70 miles per hour is 70 miles per hour.
It's fast.
99% of y'all watching the show don't even drive at 70 miles per hour, far less get that ball down the pitch or that kind of thing. So she's definitely quality. She too may be an athlete that we might risk losing to another sport.
Because cricket has money too, yeah.
Cricket has money, but if we're being real, if I had the advisor, which I have, I would say get a degree, throw in the javelin, stay playing your cricket, and when the West Indies team calls you, make yourself available. In 2 years, at least, if you go to a junior college, get at least an associate degree. That you have that there. I'm 52 years old. Trust me, picking up a book at age 52 is not impossible. But is it the preferred scenario? You know, not for me. So I would advise her to continue with javelin in as much as she can. But of course, if West Indies senior call her up, bye-bye, you know. But she has a rocket launcher arm. She's a really positive athlete, you know, a lot of upside for her.
That was the girl who went to Keyshawn coach before she left.
Keyshawn had a nice little coaching camp with her as well.
Yeah,
there was a visiting javeliner from a javelin thrower from Canada, and she was here. She was in camp with Keyshawn, and I can't remember her name. But you know, she's a Toko Tafak athlete. She lives in I don't know if you know, but you talk about plenty, you know, Corial.
Yeah.
She's from up there, which is in the Grandi kind of district. So something that the audience needs to understand. For Kanika to come to training at Hazley Crawford, it's probably about a 4 to 5 hour turnaround.
To go and come.
To go and come, and about $70.
Wow.
Yeah. Young kid, 16 years old. That's the obligation.
I think we spoke about that on many shows already, how we lose athletes because of where they live and the money.
Joel Andrews in 2019 is one such athlete. He qualified for the pole vault. Snap. Boom. Where is he now? How the guy walk? Joel is a decathlete, you know, but yeah, you know, we lose a lot of talent through the system by not being able to A, spot them early enough, and B, support them early enough.
Well, I did hear Carifta made a remark about grooming athletes at a younger age because she found that the gap between Trinidad and Tobago was quite large.
We could talk for at least another 3 or 4 hours on the gap between Trinidad and Tobago. Because Trinidad and Tobago, although we won 23 medals in all, because the gold medals have priority, we came, what, 5th? Or 4th? 4th or 5th? Yeah. And the reality of it is that Jamaica would have won or been in contention for everything if it weren't for the athlete quota.
Okay.
So there's 20 athletes per age group. So 20 under 17 girls, boys, 20 under 20 boys, girls. So if it weren't for that, Jamaica would be in contention for every medal in every event. The other thing that is different from international events is that usually international individual events, you're allowed 3 competitors, but for age group and development meet, you're allowed 2. Let's suppose Jamaica was allowed to compete with 3 athletes per event. Yeah. They would have won
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. They would have swept the podiums in a lot of events.
You saw the dominance of the Jamaican athletes.
But you know what we also saw? In some cases it took records, world records in the case of the 4x100 under 20 girls, world records to beat us. So even though we fighting under the over our weight and under the radar, you still have to bring your A game to beat Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. So that in that respect, enough respect to these young athletes. They fought against a system that was, wow, difficult at best.
But would you say that, well, I know we're going to have to take a break shortly, but when we come back from the break, I want to find out from you.
Leave the cliffhanger for them there, George. Dun, dun, dun.
Were you totally satisfied with our performance?
Stay tuned.
And where are some of the athletes right now? Are they ready for international events?
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Right back after the short break. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard on ACTN, and we are doing a recap of the 2022 Carifta game, and my guest is Dennis Allen. Dennis, before the break, I asked you,
am I satisfied?
Are you satisfied? And from what you saw, do we have athletes that can step up?
The short answer, George, is yes, I am satisfied with the athletes' performances. And yes, I am confident, supremely confident, that there are international caliber athletes whose names we will be calling for at least the next 10, 15 years. Athletes like Shaniqua Bascom, Shaquem McKay, those youths are global level excellent.
Okay.
They've embraced the opportunities.
This was her last Carifta.
Yes, this was her last under 20. I believe so. The same for Shaquem. They were the team captains, right? The men and the women's team captains. And by all accounts, Shaniqua leadership and mentorship, especially for the first timers, was above and beyond. And she was recognized by Durley Lucas, who was the manager and also the head selector. For Durley to give you that type of praise in public, I believe you would have had to earn it. So for me, hearing those two athletes who are friends of mine, of mine, not mine, mine's are holes in the ground, but they're friends of mine, and I'm telling you straight up, those two athletes are highly committed, highly talented. Another athlete who would have had some tough breaks was Revel Webster. Bottom line is this: you can only ask for your very best. And if you run on the day, you run your personal best, you throw your personal best, even within, let's say, 0.5% or 1% of your personal best, what more can you ask?
True.
And so many of these youth were just off the podium with a personal best, or would have been just out of a gold medal also with a personal best. Some of the things that we already spoke about, Mr. Sriskanda Raja. Another youth from the States, Mr. Kamabach, I believe is Ryan Kamabach, he also stood out. Was very, very much in contention in the 1500 and the 800. He was very much in contention for a medal. So the middle distances, Kaylee Ford in the girls under 17, 1500, stumbled over the line, brand new PB. What more you could ask? Your legs give out. You run everything, you know? But it was not her day for a gold medal. So for me, when I look at the performances, it would have been very easy for an athlete like Kanika to convert that silver into a gold. She lost the silver. She lost the gold by less than 2 meters. I mean, 2 meters is a hop and a skip away, you know? So could have been the wind. It was very windy. Could have just been a lot of different little things. She had a new pair of shoes. I had mentioned this on the show as well, that she had thrown in her first event, she had thrown in a shell-top Adidas, which is like just a casual shoe, basketball, low-cut shoe. Her second meet, she threw in a casual wear, what they call athleisure wear from American Flyer, which is a brand, Payless brand. Not trying to call the girl business out in the road.
Yeah, but
her third meet, I think she threw in her cricket shoe, right? She finally got a pair of javelin shoes, and she was in it. But the way javelin shoes work, they have spikes, so her throwing technique needed a bit of an adjustment. So is she going to be ready for the next meet? Oh yeah, she's going to be back. This is her first year. Well, this is her last year in under 17, but this is her first Carifta game. She qualified last year. We know what happened. She's going to be back. She's going to get that record, you know, and she's once she stays in the sport, she's going to continue to grow and develop, because that's the kind of person she is. You know, a young athlete like Jamario Russell, young sprinter, he came down from the 400. A lot of athletes doing that. Fred Curley doing that. I see this guy, one of these guys, Rai Benjamin. I mean, all kind of people dropping into sprints. Why? Because sprints where the money at, right? So seeing athletes like that, and I can call other names, you know, but the athletes that really stood out to me are the athletes that would have PB'd, and the athletes that just gave everything they had, you know, that those relays. Jamaica is in a class by itself. Jamaica, this idea that we could compete with Jamaica, banish the thought. Jamaica has systems.
Yeah.
Jamaica has support. Jamaica has funding. Jamaica has coaches that are committed on a level that understand what the new technology is, and they fight for those opportunities for their kids. It's a matter of life and death for them. The Jamaican athletes, when you drive to a place like Waterhouse, Tivoli Gardens, any Zessa song you hear, you would hear these names. Rima, Jungle. When you go to these places, the choices in life are stark. Either you get out or you get buried, especially for young male athletes. For young female athletes is what? You're going to breed for the local Don? Because that's the options.
Yeah, yeah.
So these people are running for their lives. We don't have that. We don't have that in Trinidad. We don't have that utmost urgency. We don't have that flight or fright from the ghetto. So if we don't have that, it means that the top athletes are usually in pay-to-play systems. So football, you want your child to play $200 in this academy and $500 a month in this swim camp, whatever. It's pay-to-play. When you're in a case like that, when it's time for exams, sorry, Johnny, you had to study.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so many athletes stopped performing because they have to get ready for CSEC, they have to get ready for CAPE, they have to get ready for SEA. So they're going to drop out for a year or two and pick it back up. You know, so many athletes, and I could go on and on about this, but the point of it is, forget Jamaica.
Yeah.
That is not in your range. We talk about artillery, you will constantly be falling short. You're not in range. Bahamas, forget Bahamas. Forget it. You know who we ought to look at? Guyana coming up. St. Vincent have their own track now. We ought to worry about them. You see, British Virgin Islands, one athlete won 3 goals.
Yes.
Right? And I had a privilege to speak with her mom on a podcast on Tuesday night last week. And I will tell you, this young girl is so amazing. But she's going to be back too. So any pathway to excellence is going to pass through her for at least the next 3 years. So let's face facts. Our systems have a lot to be desired. Our funding. But how many people, how many presidents of how many sporting organizations going to come with their financial plan? One line, we're going to go to ministry, we're going to go to sport company.
Do these Carifta athletes get equipments when they go to represent Trinidad and Tobago? Because why I'm going back to this, because the same traveling girl, if I'm not mistaken, you call about 3 different pairs of shoes she used before she actually got the right pair.
Puma is the equipment and apparel sponsor for the entries, as well as the TTOC. But Puma makes specific shoes. They don't make throw-in shoes.
Okay.
Right? So javelin shoes, think about it like this. How many people in the world throw javelin? You're going to develop a product for maybe 1,000 people who would be in a position to buy your top-of-the-line product. You're talking about millions of dollars in investment. You'll never recoup that.
Okay.
Right? But Puma has an interest in track and field. Right? So we have an interest in making sure that Puma gets visibility. So the athletes wear Puma, but some athletes don't even have an option. So people like the throwers, Peyton Winter, I think she also medaled. She's a shot put and discus thrower. Anika, what's her name again? Oh gosh, she's another young javeliner, discus thrower. She's also a very talented athlete. discuss. I don't put my shoes for that. So it requires a certain amount of intervention. We're doing our part. We try to make interventions where needs are clearly defined and our intervention can reach those needs. We try to do that through the TTP game plan, Brian. But bottom line is, I'm not a wealthy guy, you know what I mean? I had to buy this new Imbert gas just the same way like everybody else, you know? I scrunting, you know what I mean? I like to say I broke.
You could have gone in money and full up.
I broke, but a classy.
You could have gone in line and full up your tank.
I don't line up neither because I'm Trini. I like to jump the line. That's how it is, boy. But no, the facts are that there are high net worth individuals, George, who have no care or consideration for what needs to be done. On the other side, there are also high net worth individuals who just need to have the right person to interface with. They don't know, but if you know and you are a convincing, trustworthy person, yes, they can activate, right? How much Porsche truck you're going to have in your garage? You know, how much 40-foot boat you're going to have to go down the island? The idea of what you can do with your wealth and the interventions, those small things could be, but we have to have a system. We have to have trustworthiness, transparency, and we have to have that person who can interface. We are trying to fulfill that role, and you'll see more of that. We have some announcements to make within here, and of course, you know, we're going to drop bombs right here on this show. We don't have the couch again, but you know, we're going to drop bombs. But that's what we've been trying to do. We've been trying to guide some of that success, some of that passion into where we can now support directly the athlete. And we could talk for hours about that too, you know what I mean? But am I satisfied? Oh yeah. Am I happy with the athlete's performances? Yes. But there are certainly areas that we can improve without much work and without millions of dollars of investment.
Well, Dennis, I realize that we run out of time.
Again.
So I know you're going to stay with us to continue, you know, second part of this interview. So as we wrap up here, I just want to thank you for the opportunity of coming down
all the time,
and doing the show with us. And when we do track and field, we get a good understanding because you break it down in such a easy way that people can understand what's taking place. So viewers, I want to thank Dennis for spending this time with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be here doing our next part of this interview because there's still much to talk about. The relay teams, both male and female team, they did well. So as we lock off on this edition, we want to say thank you for staying with us and be with us next week as we continue this discussion, the recap of Carifta 2022. See you next week.